Okay, a lot of students are having a little bit of problems with this playground on functions. So let's go through it. This is playground 6, and let's look at this page 4. So up here it shows you how to declare a function. In this case we have a function called row the boat, or row the boat, and you'll see it's a function because it got these parentheses after it and the curly braces after that, and what's enclosed in here is the function. So the function is basically like this whole block of code. And the reason you make functions is because they're reusable. So the idea is this code is not executed. It doesn't happen until you call it. So to call a function, you would do row the boat like that. Boom. So now it executes this. So it executes this code. Now one thing so you'll see it executed the function down here. One thing to know about Swift Playgrounds is that it's constantly executing from top to bottom. So I'm pretty sure if you try to call this function above it, it probably will give you an error. It won't know what you're talking about. Yep, see, it's like I don't know what you're talking about because we didn't declare it yet. So it gets to this point, it's like what is row the boat? Crash. But if you put row the boat, the function underneath it, then boom, it's called. So what it asks you to do in this one is to write your own function that prints something to the console. Pay attention to the example above so you know how it works. And then it asks you to call your function. So again, creating the function is just writing the block of code and then calling the function is executing it. So to create a function, we're going to go like this, func, and we'll call this one Rotten to the Core. My daughter's really into these Disney Descendants movies, and I'm pretty sure there's a Rotten to the Core song. Print, I'm rotten to the core. And you can do another print statement too. Print, I think the lyric is I can't ask for more. Something like that. Okay, so now we've created a function called rotten to the core, but it's not actually executing, see? It won't execute until you call it. To call it, you just type out the name of the function and hit enter. Boom, rotten to the core. It says what happens if you call it more than once, so let's paste it a couple times down there, and you'll see it executes multiple times. Okay, also let's take a look at a different page. Let's go to this meme exercise at the end. So this asks you to think of a song that you've heard of before, a song with a repeated chorus, or just something that repeats, and write it out using print statements. Look for patterns and choose some groups or lines to combine into functions. Alright, so this is Blondie's song Heart of Glass. So here's a bunch of text, and what it's saying is write out the song using print statements, then look for patterns. Okay, so let's take a look at this song first. So for instance, here, once I had a love, and it was a gas. Once I had a love, that's a pattern there. Soon found out, soon turned out. Okay. But more importantly, this is this verse is repeated down here. So we'll call this whole thing, just for simplicity's sake, verse 1. So I'm going to make it a print statement first, and I'm going to end the print statement there. If you'll recall from earlier classes, /n is a line break. So because we have a return statement there, it thinks that this is a new line. So I got to back this up, do /n, back this up, /n. Okay, so now we're printing this. But really, this isn't a function yet. To be able to reuse this first verse as a function, we got to make it a function. So I'm going to call it func verse 1 and open and close brackets after the parentheses there. now we've got a function, and it's called verse1, where we print out this. So now we actually don't need, so now down here where the heart of glass, let's see, once I had 11 it was a gas, I'm going to actually just copy it and look for it. Command C, Command F, Command V. Let's see, it's also down here. So for this whole part, yeah, we'll just, first we'll just call this verse 1. See, now I'm calling the function down here. So we would call it once up here, and then we'd call it once down there. Okay, so now I've created functions for each of the bits of text here. I'm actually going to put a little /n at the end of each of them, just to make sure there's a line break after each of these long strings. Also, I've put little line breaks in for each of the lines. And now let's see if it reads correctly. Looks like it's working. So again, I've created the functions up here for each of the verses, verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, bridge. So, and then here is the actual order of the song. Let's see if it follows the standard. Verse 1, verse 2, chorus, verse 1, bridge, verse 3, chorus. Interesting. Usually I do verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. But leave it to Blondie to mix things up a little bit. It's a great song. Okay, so again, this is a little bit more on functions and how to call functions. Remember, functions are little bits of code that you will execute later. So just by writing out a function, it's not executed. You have to actually call the function. How you call the function is just by kind of doing this here. So you kind of just type out what the function is with little parentheses at the end. In the future, we might pass arguments into the function. So it might pass data into the function. And then in advanced functions, we'd also return data back. So that's in later chapters. Hopefully this helped you with this assignment. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'll talk to you later.